Okay, so we're gonna be checking out Wrath of the Lich King Classic. How in demand will your class be? This is interesting. I don't think I'll play Wrath of the Lich King Classic. I played Classic when it came out and when it was Vanilla Classic, and I played for like till BWL, and then I got kind of annoyed with the bots and all the gold farm you needed to do to be competitive and shit. It was just like 25% of the game I was just fucking grinding, or more like 75% of the game was grinding, and then the other 25% was raiding.
A new expansion.
It was just like really sweaty for like no fucking reason. But and I played Hunter, and Hunter sucked in Classic.
Always sees a massive
But
shakeup in
I'm
the
curious what he has to
class
say
power
about
meta.
this,
However,
because
unlike
this is when I really started
retail
raiding.
years, we already have a pretty
Was
good
in
idea
Wrath.
of what classes are going to be good for how long and exactly why you will want them in your raid. And if we were to look at the classic trilogy of vanilla TBC,
Yo, that Grizzly Hills soundtrack, holy shit.
and Wrath of the Lich King,
So
I'd say
good.
Wrath quite easily has the
So
most
good.
semblance of balance across the board. But with the nature of MMOs and optimization, there's always going to be something which is the best. Fortunately in Wrath though, the best isn't quite so easily defined. Back in Classic we had Mage, Warriors and Rogues. In TBC at the moment we have Hunters and Warlocks, though Mages and Warriors are also
Hunters are
doing
good.
very well.
Wait, Hunters are good. And in BC? What? What? I didn't know that. I should have fucking played BC.
And Wrath the Lich King we have, well, it's kind of hard to say. Shamans are good early, all 3 DK specs do well throughout the whole game, Warlocks are great, and there just isn't really any one class you can single out and say, these guys just aren't going to do well at any point throughout the
Oh, wait, so the game's a lot more balanced, it seems. If that's the case. That's actually pretty sweet.
expansion. It's
'Cause
one
it's
of the
not-
things that I
it's
think
not
makes
in,
Wrath worth looking forwards to. You
and
can't
the other
just
two
really
expansions.
go wrong with whatever you pick. The idea of the class that you're only ever going to bring for utility is not quite gone. However, it's much less of a thing than it is in TBC. There are only really 2 examples of you must have this exact one class in your raid for this one specific buff, and those are Heroism from Shamans and a new talent from Demonology Warlocks called Demonic Pact.
You always
that gives
need
your
the
raid a large
Bloodlust
spell
and
power
shit.
buff that scales with the Warlock's own spell power. Many strong class buffs are now shared across a number of specs rather than only ever being from one source. 5% spell crit can either be from an elemental shaman or a boomkin. 10% attack power can be from an enhancement shaman, a blood
Hunters
decay,
have that,
or a
right?
marksman hunter.
Yeah, we have the 10% attack power, so they just like changed it around. Level 15 Stronghold? Oh shit. That's actually really nice. Yeah, those buffs are actually really worth it in the long run, right? Just for like honing and stuff.
So on. It's more about building the comp that makes sense for the patch, the raid size you're running, and covering as many buffs as you can, which synergize with what you have. But much like Vanilla and TBC though, not all classes are made equal. Some are much harder to replace, and let me tell you, it's not worth losing your hair over fretting.
Honestly, if I was gonna play Wrath of the Lich King Classic, I would main Death Knight. Because Death Knight was broken. The whole expansion, I feel like it was crazy. And they're so cool with the Frostmourne. I remember my guildie got the Frostmourne, and the fucking such a cool legendary. The aura it gives around you, it does so much damage. I really want to play Death Knight. If I did, I'm not going to play this,
choice,
most likely, but if I did, I would
main Death
Knight.
Look at your character you play and wonder, is this such a fantasy game after all? Well, Keeps is here to help. It's a clinically proven treatment to combat symptoms of hair loss, which has
oh no
track record of improvement for most customers within the first 6 months.
Yikes.
The majority of guys...
I hope he doesn't react to this video. He's gonna get triggered. Yo, I'm cosplaying as him today a little bit. My hair is not as long as he is,
sure
but
is the average age of most TBC raiding
kind of cosplaying as him.
Character gets to go to the barber shop in Wrath and magic their hair back in real life. It's better to not wait until it's too far gone. Keeps offers expert quality care and service without having to take the time to visit a doctor's office or pharmacy. The plans they offer have been medically verified and are delivered straight to your door, making it much more convenient. Keeps helps you find a routine that makes sense for you and your schedule. So whether it's taking early prevention methods or just trying to stimulate growth, Keeps will have you covered. Hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/WillE or click the link in the description. That's KEEPS.com/WillE. Many thanks to Keeps for the sponsor. Let's talk Wrath. The single biggest change in class demand from TBC to Wrath will be how many Shamans you want in your raid. Shaman players, I'm going to tell you how it is, it doesn't get better than TBC for how easy it is to find a raid spot. Pretty much at any point ever.
I don't like Shaman. I thought I was going to like Shaman, but the totem management and shit is like so annoying. I boosted a Shaman at the start of TBC, thinking I was going to play TBC, and then I realized it's gonna take like fucking 40 hours to get from 60 to 70 or some shit like that. I was like, you know what? Fuck all that. I'm too lazy. I don't want to do that. I just wanted the raid, you know. I didn't want to put in the work to get to the raids and get to level 70. But I was thinking Shaman because I was gonna be a healer, even though I don't play healer in WoW. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't like the totems. They were just a pain in the butt.
Throughout the history of WoW, heroism and totems being group-wide makes Shamans absolutely irreplaceable in the current version of the game, and you want to try as much as you can to ensure that you have at least 5 Shamans all of the time.
Oh my god.
In the run-up to TBC launching, I
think in Wrath it's raid-wide now, so you only need 1, I think.
The most in-demand class and spec would be a Resto Shaman, if not just a Shaman.
The thing about Wrath that might be fun is they have 10-man raids, right? They have 10-man heroic and 25 heroic, so you can do you can raid twice the amount of time, right?
Shaman by itself, and I think that's been the case. In Wrath, you don't really need 5 Shamans in the raid, and much like TBC, one of their DPS specs does not scale particularly well, that being Elemental, and other classes can either bring the same buffs or actually just better buffs than they can. Enhancement is still solid, as is Restoration, but not super mandatory to have in your raid as they are in TBC. You will at least always want 1 Shaman though. Heroism or Bloodlust is still the single strongest cooldown ever made in the history of World of Warcraft by
that's so fun, man.
way. If everybody currently on a Shaman though continues onwards, there's gonna be a few more, then there'll be raid spots.
I love when you're doing your rotation, and then when heroism pops and you overlap heroism with your other cooldowns, even if it's like haste, you got your potion up, you got your fucking I don't know, crit buffs up and shit, and you just like do so much more damage, and you're just weaving your spells so much faster. And you can just see the boss's health bar just like all of a sudden go down so much faster. It just feels so, it's just so fun.
For I think hunters remain a strong DPS choice, either playing survival early and transitioning to marksman later on as they gain more armor penetration. Hunters are currently a very popular choice in TBC because of their powerful
hunters are good in Wrath.
Excellent scaling.
I might just play hunter. Honestly, I've been playing hunter for so long though, and I played hunter already in Wrath. But hunters are so fun back then because there's such a bigger skill disparity in hunters, because hunters, even now, like the difference between a good hunter and a bad hunter is crazy. I know it's, you know, BM's easy and stuff, but like any class, if you can master it, you can just outperform everybody. But hunters back then, you can't auto attack while moving, so you need to like stutter step your autos, so you're always getting your autos off as well as your other skills, and it really made a good hunter shine, and it really made the class more enjoyable because it was just harder.
This difference is harder to play. Mastery goes from the best DPS spec to kind of nobody plays it anymore. Their playstyle also changes significantly.
Why Blizzard? Why did fucking Blizzard turn survival into a melee spec? Oh my god, I miss survival. It was so fun. Cataclysm or the gold was like the golden era.
From managing clipping shots to being more cooldown and rotation based. You'll need reliable hunters that are good on communications because of misdirection. It's still a unique skill because it can be used from a range position to get adds to the tank quickly and avoid issues. I think hunters are going to naturally see a drop off from how many are played, since there are other choices for people chasing the top of the damage meters in Wrath. Priests are still...
The thing is, people in classic WoW are so like... It's crazy. I mean, it's all MMOs, right? People are going hard in Lost Ark right now. But people in Classic, they think like they're mythic rating and the retail. And they're like putting in that much effort into fucking rating when the content is like 20 times easier. And they're just like trying to pump and like go crazy and just like, okay, holy shit. These guys are fucking nuts, man. These guys are sweaty as fuck.
Fantastic.
It's crazy.
Discipline actually becomes a much more popular choice to play in PvE.
It's like they just want to punch a target dummy and see who can... I don't know. I mean, I guess it's fun in that regard. You can just like parse all day, but I don't know. It's crazy.
This requires good fight knowledge as they heal preemptively through shielding so that damage never happens. Holy Priest just isn't really played as much in Wrath. It's not that it's bad, it's just other healers do the thing it does a little bit better, which is raw healing power. So you may be looking at a change of specialization in Wrath as a priest healer. You still absolutely want a shadow in your group, not as a mana battery anymore though, other classes can do that as well. They're a solid DPS, they have excellent survivability through dispersion, as well as bringing a number of buffs and debuffs.
A Shadowhunter is good on what's it called? Or Shadow Priest is good on Heroic Lich King because they can use dispersion to soak up one of the phases where all those like souls come.
It's kind of similar to how they are in TBC. You need one, but only really ever one. As for demand, I'd say priests are about the same. A good pick, more utility focused however. Mages, well, they have done way better than we expected in TBC. Mage players might even...
Dude, mages are always fucking good. It's so frustrating as a hunter player. Because like hunters are always mediocre. But then again, sometimes they're in bad spots. But mages, at least one spec is always amazing. You know, it's just not fair. Oh, and it sucks because in retail WoW since they changed fucking survival, there's only 2 options for rating. BM or marksmanship. That's it. I think this is the first time we've seen survival be actually used in mythic rating in the Race to World First ever. Like, if I wanted to play survival on like a decent like 200 plus guild, they'd be like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. You're high. Like it just doesn't exist. It doesn't offer anything to the raid. It's just bad. But so it was always just BM or marksman. And if both of those are bad, then it just sucks. It just sucks. So that's why I don't want to play hunter if I ever go back to WoW. I really don't, unless they switch survival. Because right now it's just like it's a 2-spec class and BM is boring and then marksman is fun, but it's like if marksman sucks then I just have a bad time.
Stick out playing the whole of TBC as Arcane if Fire can't beat it in Sunwell gear, which is unexpected, and because of how well they can do in top meters, they attract a lot of attention and re-rollers. It's going to be the exact same in Wrath of the Lich King. Mages start strong as Arcane,
God damn it, mages are strong through classic fucking vanilla TBC Wrath. Name one expansion where mages aren't broken. I like what the fuck?
Providing massive burst windows on short encounters, which makes them really fun and
I'm just
powerful.
so jealous. I'm so jealous right now.
Fire, which needs a bit more crit to work. Also, fire mages have pretty much absolutely zero raid responsibility other than doing damage, and they're very easy to play, and you can top the DPS on them. There's going to be a lot of mages, like really a lot. Will there be enough raid spots for them? Well, you can certainly bring more than one, so perhaps there will be, just about. Warlocks, my class. Well, Warlocks, Wrath of the Lich King is a very good expansion for us. Affliction may be the single most consistently strong DPS spec in the game from start to finish. There is never a raid or a tier where you do not want an Affliction lock. They do a lot of damage, they scale well, they have unique utility in Soulstone and Healthstone. Their execute phase is amazing thanks to a rework to drain soul. They bring good buffs and debuffs and yeah, just everything you could possibly want. This is a great
4 times the DPS.
Demonology is one of the you really want at least one in your raid at all time specs thanks to their unique buff Demonic Pact, which we...
Do you think, is that fun? Is the Demonic Warlock fun? Like it looks so cool, right? You're just like a demon. I wonder if it's fun to play. Don't you get like minions and shit?
You mentioned before. You should being the key word here, also get funneled upgrades as a priority. An upgrade to the Demonology lock is technically an upgrade for every single class that uses spell damage. Demo, however, should fall off in damage somewhat later in the game compared to Affliction. As for Destro, it's more of a PvP thing now. I'd say Destro has had a good run in Vanilla and TBC though. If TBC made Warlocks popular, Wrath of the Lich King will make it even more so. Expect a lot of demand and raid spots for the purples in Wrath. Rogue, Rogue, the fall from classic to TBC.
I think I remember rogues being really good. I think a rogue is another class like the mage that is just always in a decent spot. At least one spec's like pretty fucking good in PvE. So I remember rogues doing a lot of damage back in at least ICC when I really started raiding in the game.
TBC hurt, though they are starting to really prove themselves again in tier 6 content. In Wrath though, can we expect to really see more than one yellow class per raid? Well I guess, if you have them, sure. Rogues have 2 PvE specs, Assassination, which is not totally garbage anymore, and is a very consistently
cool
strong single
dagger.
target spec with low gearing requirements, and Combat, which excels in cleave and scales better in late game gear, especially armor pen. You do want a rogue in Wrath the Lich King though, and there are more reasons to bring them now other than the debuffs which they give, because they get that.
That's such a cool tier set too. Rogues have some of the coolest like transmog. I'm jealous again.
Own version of misdirect called Tricks of the Trade, except this also buffs the target's damage by 15% for the duration as well. Often in Wrath, rogues would use tricks on each other to share the buff around, because 15% damage on a tank sometimes isn't very exciting. Still, rogues are just such a popular class fantasy. They always have been. I don't think there's a version of WoW that doesn't have more rogues than you really need. Druids, I'll keep it short. It's the same as TBC. One of each is great for your raid comp. As for the 10
except Feral DPS.
it depends what kind of build you're going for. Feral obviously fits melee better, while boomies are better for casters. Out of all 3, I expect a lot, and I mean a lot of people to at least want to try Feral. This spec gets so much better in Wrath of the
Really?
Lich
Oh dang, I was actually kind of serious. I didn't know they were actually good. Holy shit.
King, though it does have a considerably higher skill cap than many other classes do, due to how many different buffs and debuffs you need to be juggling at the same time.
Yeah, Feral, I remember I tried playing Feral at Cataclysm. I was gonna switch my main, and then in Firelands too. It's actually really fun, but you have to maintain a lot of buffs, bleeds on the target, but once you get going, it's a really fun spec. I wish it was actually like good, because it's like never good, right?
Tanks are still good, but they won't be as good as they are in TBC anymore. As for boomies, they have super powerful AoE, solid.
Oh my god, I fucking hate boomkins, man. Shadowlands, boomkins been broken. I don't know if they're broken anymore. I don't play WoW anymore, but Shadowlands, boomkins were fucking busted in all content from day one, dude. From day one, they were broken. PvP broken. They're tanky. They do so much fucking damage. They're crazy on AoE. Their single target's pretty damn good. It's just like, what is the weakness of the boomkin? I would go into arenas, just get one shot. A boomkin would out damage me on like every single fight, especially AoE with their Starfire, and they have so much more defensive cooldowns than hunters did. I think I'm just jealous of all of the other DPS classes that are like pure DPS, you know. Hunters, man, I should have played TPC when hunters were good.
Solid single target damage, and I can't wait to get into an LFG with a boomy and have them pull the entire room with Starfall. You just know it's gonna happen, don't you? Resto.
Dude, I like that. They changed like the floating combat text at some point, and I really wish they didn't, because it looks so much better in Classic. I don't know why they switched it. It just looks better. I don't know. It just feels like when you crit, it just really fucking like throws that shit in your face, and it feels good.
Who is Resto? They're just a solid healer. You want them in your raid. I don't really have much more to say on them. And of course,
Resto Druids are always so cool.
Druid brings the
I love
standard
Resto
Druid
Druids,
utility
like identity the best, you know, the trees.
Oh, also, they now have a normal resurrection. Thanks, Blizz. Only took you 4 years. On to the last 3 then, the Plate Boys, Warriors. Yeah, there's gonna be way too many. Whenever has there not been a version of WoW with too many warriors? Again, much like TBC, warriors are supposed to be weak early, but scale insanely well with gear. DPS-wise, expect a lot of competition for warrior spaces. By the time we're hitting
I'm not playing
the end
warrior
of the
then.
expansion, I expect them to be living up to the hype for sure. Oh, in Wrath, there's this little weapon as well called Shadowmourne you might have heard of.
Yeah, that's what I want. I just want to like, I want to get like a private server and just get all the best gear and just play like the classes. I just don't want to put the work in, you know. I just want to raid with like gear and just boost. If they had an option to boost to level 80 with all that quest and rep done, and you just do heroic dungeons, then you go into the raid and you do that shit, oh my god, I would pay hundreds of dollars for that. That's all I want to do. I want to skip all the bullshit, you know. I just want to raid. That's it.
Like DPS will be after. Prot warriors don't get a good reputation in Wrath of the Lich King at all. I don't think they did in the start of TBC either, and they've been fine throughout. It's just people tend to overlook things if they aren't considered the best. I think I can say they're not what they once were in Classic anymore, and there are largely better options, but they're fine if you still want to run them. Paladin. Okay, here we are. If you main a Paladin, I think you are playing the most in-demand class in Wrath of the Lich King, and
Holy
it's just
shit.
not even close. You are the new Shaman. That's the level of how many Paladins people
Really?
will want. Specifically, Holy Paladin.
Dude, I remember WoW Hobbs. That's why I made a Paladin. WoW Hobbs level 80 video, and then when he was solo in Scarlet Monastery, when he was playing Protection Paladin, and you just like, you get all these mobs up, and then you get the, what's it called, the consecration going, and then you have that one, you have that trinket that like every time you block, you heal a little bit, and then you pop the buff that makes you block more, and you just, it's so fun. The sound effects are cool. You just get all this gold from a cloth. I think they have that in TBC, but I started doing it in Wrath. That's when I really started playing the game. But man, I really want to play Protection Paladin too. Maybe I'll play tank. I think I'll play tank if I play this. We'll see.
There isn't a huge amount of
I want to
them
play a lot of
in
shit,
TBC,
man.
and you really want a Holy Paladin in Wrath, if not 2 of them with your 25-man group. They are insanely powerful and just have so many buffs and can absolutely pump heals. Also, small side note, Valinir scales the best with Holy Paladins. Just a little extra thing to think about there. You want Paladins for blessings.
Some of the gear from this
auras,
expansion looks so cool.
Paladins are the best main tank by a margin of a very large amount. They are kind of broken in Wrath of the Lich King. Just like Holy, so many bonuses for the raid, insane survivability, raid-wide defensive cooldown, strong single target and AoE threat. You just want a prop paladin in every single raid group ever. And Retribution. Ret, I think, is going to be a very oversaturated DPS spec. I believe they are the single class and spec which can provide the most overall buffs in one package. It's either 5 or 6 separate buffs depending on what else you brought. I also feel as though people are remembering how broken Ret was early as a benchmark for the spec, but it won't be until you get your tier 10 2 set, which is Icecrown Citadel.
Your melee attacks have a 40% chance to reset the cooldown of your Divine Storm. That's crazy. 40%? And then your judgments do 10% more damage. That 2-piece bonus is nuts. That sounds really fun, actually. Divine Storm is such a cool ability. You just spam it like every now and then. That's really cool.
By the way, until you start doing really broken things. Still, it's never bad to have a Ret in the raid. Which means we end on the new class, the Death Knights.
The Death Knights.
Druids, 1 of each, all day, every day. Frost DKs are sometimes referred to as better enhancement shamans, as they bring similar.
I never really played Frost. I played Unholy, and I really enjoy Blood too. Blood DKs are cool. It's just that I don't know if they're good in Wrath, but it's just they're not as tanky because you have to self-heal, so you get hit pretty fucking hard sometimes as Blood, and I think it makes healers a little anxious. It makes even you a little anxious because you don't know how much, like, at first at least, because you don't know how much you can actually heal with that class. It's actually crazy how much you can actually heal.
Similar buffs, but often just outperform them. In PvE, they dual wield and have strong single target damage and AoE burst. Unholy scales very well. They use a big 2-hander and have strong single target cooldowns and very good AoE. Also, one Unholy is exceptionally good for cleave encounters, as they can spread the magic damage debuff super fast, so that your casters can focus on blasting, not debuffing. Blood DKs have the best single target threat, a huge amount of cooldowns, and don't need to hide behind no shield. I played a Blood DK casually in Wrath when it was live, and always loved how much control you had over your own health bar, rather than hoping a heal was going to land and top you up. Obviously, DKs on Wrath launch were way overtuned, and they got gradually nerfed.
Yeah, DKs. I'm saying DKs are broken throughout the entire expansion. Like it's nuts.
Throughout the expansion, but they still remain powerful. And if you don't think Death Knights are going to be mega overrepresented in Wrath, then you'll be in for a surprise. But I think all the same, there will be enough raid spots for the influx of the new class. And that's it. Like we started with, you can't honestly go too wrong whatever you pick. It's just that some classes and...
That's cool. I like that. I think that's a little bit healthier for the game, because like it was annoying in Classic. It's just like stupid, man. Like you have like 12 warriors and like 10 rogues. Like, what are we doing? It's just like no one plays like half of the specs that are in the game. It's not as fun, I feel like, if you just have the same stuff in every raid.
Specs do a little bit better than others. The full videos on each class will be done at a later date, of course.
Okay, we'll have to watch those too.
Here and give you a lot more detail on what your class does well and why. TM. Let me know your thoughts on everything, as well as what you're thinking about playing at the moment. I know I'm carrying on with the Warlock, maybe even 2 Warlocks, 1 demo, 1 AF, perhaps a Feral if I can fit that in as well. They do look very interesting. But that is everything from me. As always, thank you all so much for...
I don't know if I'm gonna play Wrath Classic. We'll see, but I'm just interested in how the game was back then, from like, you know, balance perspective, because I was unaware at the time, but now there's so much information, you know, everything's figured out already. So Willie's videos are always great, and I always like to see how WoW as a classic is doing and what's good. I would, if I was gonna play this, I would play either Paladin, probably Prop Paladin, DPS Death Knight, or Mage. I want to play it. I want to play it, just not enough fucking time.
For watching and listening in.
Yeah, check out Willie, guys. He's got some good videos if you like classic WoW.